Hello, welcome. This is part 5 of my Spectrum Speedpaint series. We're halfway done, yay! If you haven't seen the others, I suggest you go watch them. As per usual, I'll give my explanation like I have been. I'm doing a series of videos where I introduce each of the characters in my project Spectrum and show speed paints of me drawing their base sprites. Spectrum is a visual novel styled YouTube series I'm working on that depicts the lives of 10 main characters. The original base concept for Spectrum was looking at characters with specific color themes and seeing what they got in common. What trends do I see? And using those similarities, I tried to create a character that reflected them while also still being unique and interesting. While the characters all have their own lives, they all interact with one another, and the story is about the chaotic things they get up to. This video is going to be all about Blue, the 5th one in the lineup. So, similarly to green, blue was a tricky color to work with. Blue-themed characters, specifically blue-haired characters, aren't uncommon. However, in terms of common trends or themes, there weren't a whole lot of similarities. Blue is the kind of color that can have a lot of range, so the personalities also had quite a bit of range. There weren't many traits I could pick out that made blue-themed characters similar, which was surprising. Blue is just normal enough to do whatever with, I guess. The one thing I did notice was blue was a color for less intense characters. Like, they were sorta normal people a lot of the time. Blue is frequently used in the place of black for hair, so there were a lot of plain sorta characters with blue hair too. It was interesting. But basically that meant I was working with pretty much nothing. So what did I do? Well, the first thing I wanted was to give him a different hairstyle from your standard plain protagonist. His hair is pinned to the sides because he doesn't have bangs, and the middle part of his hair hangs out of the hat he wears. I decided to go with a light blue for his hair because you don't see that as often. To make up for it, his hat is a darker blue, which I thought was fun. I don't give characters hats a lot for some reason, so it was a fun addition to me. He's got a couple pins on his hat, and he wears the hat backwards so his hair can hang out of the section in the back because he doesn't really like the brim. Because there weren't many trends when it came to aesthetics, I decided to roll with the whole normal thing and give him casual clothes. I'll explain a bit more about why I chose the outfit I did later. But he's dressed in a pretty normal way. His outfit doesn't grab a lot of attention. It isn't unusual for someone just going about their day. I gave him Crocs because he goes outside a lot, and they were a good mix of casual and practical. I've never drawn Crocs until this point, so that was a fun detail. He's got the little shoe charms on them, which you probably can't see very well yet, but I'll mention those again later too. Also, I decided to make him a lizard. He's a 5-line skink, to be exact. They're blue when they're younger and get grayer as they get older. Blue is an adult, despite being blue though. I put 5 stripes of darker blue in his hair, which you'll see eventually. He's got 2 in front, 2 on the sides, and 1 on the back, which you can't see on the sprite. It's supposed to resemble the lines of his tail. They're color picked directly from his tail, actually. I picked this type of lizard because they're blue, of course, but I also picked it because we have them where I live. I see them on rare occasions when it's hot outside. I think they're cute. So on to his personality. Blue is a very quiet person, and he mostly keeps to himself. He's a pretty sad kind of dude and doesn't have a lot of self-confidence. He doesn't think highly of himself and always puts himself down more than he probably should. He doesn't show a lot of interest in things, and he keeps his hobbies mostly to himself. He doesn't talk much and dodges most attempts to socialize. He pretty much only speaks when spoken to. He never initiates conversation. He's not an anxious person, he just doesn't see himself as worth the attention. He assumes people don't like him even if he hasn't done anything wrong. He's just a really sad guy. Despite that, he does have interests that make him happy. As a reptile himself, he loves reptiles of all kinds and regularly goes outside of his apartment complex and occasionally in the woods to go look for them. He's got a special ability to get along with other reptiles, so they sit next to each other. His biggest passion is dinosaurs. He loves dinosaurs and collects all kinds of figures, toys, and plushies. Although he works at a museum, he likes to visit museums to go look at things related to dinosaurs and reptiles. You could say his adult passion for reptiles is his way of healing his inner child. His bedroom is very cutesy and fun, despite how depressing he usually is. His clothes have a similar touch. They're reminiscent of being a kid and going outside to play. He's not meant to be infantilized or anything. He just wants to enjoy things a little for once, now that he's old enough to. Reptiles are one of the few things that can bring him joy, and he lets himself have it. He doesn't talk about it much, despite being an obvious passion of his. One of the pins on his hat is a reptile scale pattern, and the other is a dinosaur skull. The shoe charms he has are also dinosaur related. He's got bones and such. So even though he tends to be down most of the time, he does enjoy some things. He just tends to do it in private because he doesn't like being outwardly happy. He never really has company, so no one knows what his room looks like besides like 2 people. So with that out of the way, who does this lonesome guy talk to? The one he's closest to is Gray. They hang out occasionally. Blue is one of the few people Gray is willing to leave the house to talk to. Gray has been to Blue's apartment, and Blue has been to Gray's house, which is a big deal because he never goes anywhere to be social. The 2 of them have a pretty chill friendship, and they get along. The other person Blue gets along well with is White. They went to school together, so they've known each other for a decent amount of time. They are both pretty quiet and gentle people, so they meshed well together. They're kind to one another and have simple conversations. White is the reason Blue helps Green so much. He just likes to hang out at their house and do nothing. That's also how he tends to run into Gray, too. He's on decent terms with Green and likes helping him out because he gets to go in the woods. He has trouble holding a conversation with Green and avoids small talk as much as possible, so they don't ever clash or anything. They can coexist, especially because they both have a link with White. Blue sorta gets along with Orange in a way. He likes to exist around Orange and not talk to him. He just sits nearby while Orange does stuff. He'll sit outside with Orange if he's mixing or playing music from his car, but he never talks. Orange is aware of it and doesn't mind it. He likes when Blue hangs around because he knows how much time he spends on his own. And of course, as expected, there are people he doesn't get along with, given how chaotic the group can be. As previously mentioned in Red's video, Blue is Red's favorite person out of everyone. He loves Blue and is constantly trying to get him involved in their nonsense. He loves messing with Blue and making jokes at him, trying to tie him into their conversation, and Blue hates it. He thinks Red is too outgoing for him and doesn't understand why someone so fun and hype is interested in someone like him. He always shoots down Red's attempts to get closer to him, and he's not receptive to Red's constant affection. It's incredibly one-sided. As for everyone else, he's not close to anyone. He avoids conversations with pretty much everyone, so he isn't really close to anyone else. But at the same time, he's not on bad terms with anyone else either. If they talk to him, he's at least willing to respond, even if it's short and awkward. Overall, no one has any issues with Blue, and Blue doesn't mind anyone's company. He's mostly alright with just sitting in the corner of the room while everyone talks to each other. Because Blue isn't social at all, he's just not good at talking to people. He's not shy, he's just really awkward. He knows it, and he feels bad about it because he doesn't want to make people uncomfortable. It's just one of those things he's self-conscious of, and he uses it as an excuse not to talk. He thinks he isn't worthy of conversing with others, so he keeps it to a minimum. On to his background, because he doesn't talk much, no one really knows about what his life was like before he met everyone. The only one who knows anything about how he grew up are White and Gray. He was still living at home when he met White, of course, so White got to see it in real time, even if he never went to Blue's house. He doesn't talk about it, but the effects of his home life definitely show in his personality. He grew up with his mom, dad, and an older brother. It's pretty obvious he didn't get the attention he deserved as a kid, so now he thinks he's worthless as an adult. He moved out once he had the chance, and he's been out of contact with his family since. No one besides White really knows the details. And last, his theme that's been playing in the background. I wanted it to be slow and calm, but it's also meant to be a bit solemn. It's pretty straightforward for him, I think. It's got a mellow feel to it. Something I did specifically was, the melody kind of blends in with the chord progression. It can be kind of hard to tell them apart sometimes. I wanted to give his song a kind of hazy effect to make it a bit blurry almost. It feels like a sad mix of emotions that can be hard to identify, and that reflects Blue's nature pretty well. He's got a lot going on in his head, but the overwhelming sad thoughts kind of drag him down and make him move slower than he probably would if he were happier. The extra instrument in his song is pretty subtle and can barely be heard, which is what I wanted. It's sort of just a tone. It's not a particular instrument or anything, but it perfectly lines up with the melody so it doesn't stand out. There's a point in the song towards the end where the chord progression and the tone are absent, so it kind of represents the times when Blue can think clearly and fully understand how it feels. There were a lot of specific things that went into this one. The sadder you are, the more specific your theme gets, I've noticed. But anyway, he's a sad little guy and he deserves love and affection even if he doesn't think so. He's a good guy. Here's his full sprite, and I'll show some of his others. He doesn't emote much in his face. In total, he has 26 sprites, so not very many. Hope you liked hearing about him, even though he's depressed as all hell. Next in the lineup is Violet, so hopefully I'll see you around for it. Take care. Stay safe.